Can you give a shout out to Pace? Let's go. All right.
So as you guys can see, I have a big team. We have a big operation. Our companies combined do about $100 to $120 million a year in revenue. And one of the most common questions I get is, if I was gonna start all the way over, what would I do differently? What would I adjust differently if I could go back in my previous life and tweak a couple of things? What would I have done faster? What would I have quit faster? What have I started faster? And this video you're gonna watch is actually a one-on-one at one of my mobile home parks in Yuma, Arizona with Andrea Cannon, somebody who's been in the SubTo community for years. She's scaling, she's growing. Her first deal she ever did, she climbed a fence, knocked a door, and bought $1 million home SubTo. And now she's buying businesses, doing all sorts of things, RV parks, etc. She has a great question, and I think a lot of people could benefit from it, is Pace, what would you do differently? One, knowing what you know now, and two, if you were me. Enjoy the video. Okay, Andrea Cannon has a question for me. What do we got?
So my question is, what is the number one thing that you know now that you wish you would have known sooner as a real estate investor?
Only one thing?
Just one. If you could go back and tell yourself this one thing that you think would have changed your trajectory or something. I know there's lessons in everything. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the number one.
I got like a couple that are like really high on the list. And it depends on who is the person that's receiving it. But I would say I would have doubled down on my brand a lot earlier. I would have taken that as serious as my life, because it really is that important. By far, like every single ounce of energy I spend should be focused on something that has something to do with growing awareness around what I do. And I didn't do that. I was just grinding solo. And I was networking, and I was going to masterminds, and I was doing those things, and those things changed my life, and they were worth 10x what I invested in them. But if I had been investing in my brand earlier on, I would have been so much further ahead. And not that I want to be further ahead in terms of money, but I would have been able to help a lot more people. And when I see people that run into me, they go, I just found out who you are a week ago. I'm like, I have not been working hard enough, right? So brand is there. And then that's a whole other unraveling of what does that even mean? Does that mean coaching? No. Like, there's days where I question even being, if it wasn't for the community itself and like building it the way that we built it, I would have never gone down the road to go that route. I would have never been a coach or a mentor. It's not who I am. I am a coach or a mentor just naturally, and I think you are too. Like, you want to help people. But what I mean by brand is I would have been talking about my deal flow way more frequently when I was going direct to seller, which is what Kyle Kargas is doing right now. And I was in living rooms. I wish I was documenting every single thing I did. I wish I was sharing my failures. I wish I was sharing the lessons I was learning. I wish I was documenting that entire journey, because now it's just memories that I have of myself. And when people go, what was it like? Or, hey, give me some advice. I'm like, dude, I wish I had all that content. And I didn't. Which means I have to reintroduce myself and give people my history, which wastes a lot of my time in my new conversations. There's a lot of things there. So besides brand, which 99% of people will never do, and that's also going back to number one, is brand is so important, obviously, but it's also the one thing that nobody does. Like, everybody in that van that we're with today, they're all afraid of being on camera. They're all afraid of posting. They're all afraid about talk. Or they're like, oh, I used to do good on my brand. And then they stop. And why is that a good thing? It's a good thing because it highlights the fact that one of the most important things you could do, nobody ever does. Which means that the gap is so massive between where you are and where you could be. And that little task of doing content would fill that massive gap between where everybody is and where you want to be. It's content. Content, content, content. By the time I started paying to get into rooms around content and storytelling, I was already so good that I ended up teaching all the classes. I wish I was doing those classes and masterminds like 10 years ago, not 5 years ago. Okay, cool. Let's throw that to the side. Number one thing. Knowing what I know now, I would have never done single family. I would have never done single family knowing what I know now. Not knowing what I know now and going back to myself who hasn't gone through the lessons and the pain and the learning and all the bumps and bruises, I would go back to myself and go, I'd say, here's your wake up call. You got a rooster trying to wake you up. 25 houses limit. Limit yourself to 25 houses. Make them the best deals you can take. Everything else, wholesale them. Instead, I bought hundreds of single family properties. I at one point I had 300 plus single family homes in my portfolio. Now I have about 100. And I hope that in the next 24 months, I'll be down to 25. But the amount of time, energy, team effort, maintenance, management, redeployment, locking myself into a deal, because with single family, here's the other problem. I'm playing a little man's game with big man's energy. It's a little man game. And it's good for starting out, and it proves that you can do it. And it's not as scary to jump into it because the losses are so much smaller. And so you play this little man's game, but I'm using big man energy. The same energy I use on an RV park or a mobile home park, I use also on single family. So was single family worth my time? Yes. I'm in a position that most people in the world would beg to be in. So I'm grateful for it. Single family gave that to me. But I could have gotten in a much stronger position a lot earlier if I would have jumped into, here's what I would have done. I would have ran to myself and said a couple of things. Build a brand, 25 single family houses, max those out. Don't jump into anything less than 50 units. Multifamily, RV park, mobile home park, don't jump into another thing unless it's 50 units or more. And I would have just gotten over that fear on the 50 unit thing. What I did was like, I got over the fear on a single family. Then I got over the fear on a second single family, and so on and so forth. Then I got over fear of a 12-plex. Then I got over the fear of an 18-plex. Then a 24-plex. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I'm like, dude, if I could go back, I would have just been like, go to a 50 unit right out of the gate, like really, really fast. You'll get over the fear, and then you'll wake up and go, oh, 50 units is like the minimum I would do. So I would have gotten over that fear way faster. It is just fear, and it's just easier. Like, this is an easier park to manage than the 14 unit. This is 2.5 times the size of the 14 unit. That one is way harder to manage, and it makes less money. And that's crazy. Harder to manage, makes less money. This makes more money, easy to manage. So on top of that, I would have also said to myself to follow Tony Robbins. He never talks about this. You have to figure this. He's never said this out loud. I had to learn this by being around him. He does not operate any business. He's not involved in any operational stuff. What does he do? He built his brand so people bring opportunities to him. He then makes those opportunities a reality. Could be through his brand or, networking or connecting a dot or a credit thing or whatever. And he takes 40 to 60% of that endeavor, and then he moves on to the next thing. And so the last 24 months, that's what I've been doing a lot more of. I've been like, okay, well, I'll give you a good example. The fund box investment, somebody's like, I was at one point thinking, oh, buy a fund box business, get my team operationally geared towards that. That was a whole mindset. Then I realized, oh, I could just fund Michael, who already owns 3 fund boxes, and he wants to own 6, and he's operationally minded, not capital raising minded. If I helped raise the money and I got 60% of his business, wow. I'm getting 60% of his business, and I'm hands off, and he already has 3 that are producing a ton of money. That's all I should be doing. And so the brand allows me to do that. Because if people know that I'm there and I can solve that problem, like even right now, whatever happens with this video, somebody will watch that and go, okay, yeah, 60% sounds like a lot, but I have 0% of this idea I have or this opportunity I have. So that's one. Another opportunity I have right now, I'm a credit sponsor for a 47 unit co-living property in Montana that's right down the road from me. And I'm not running it, I'm not operating it, I'm just being the credit sponsor. And if they fail to operate or manage it, I kick them out of the LLC and I take over the whole entire asset. So I go from 40% no management to 100% if I do have to manage it. And I'm like, I should have just been doing that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Also, another thing I wish I knew is it's better for me to help somebody else. So think about this. If I buy a park, that does require money. I have a big park that I bought for $5 million and it needed $1 million. So I put $1 million into it and I raised all the money. I did all the thing and I own 100% of a thing I raised $1 million for. Cool. Now I've got partners on the thing and I'm managing the asset and whatever else. What I wish I did is I wish I raised the money for somebody else to manage the park and somebody else to be there on site. And I took 40%. And now the partners are that person who's on the 60%, if that makes sense. And I'm 40% with no management. And so I'm doing a lot more of that right now.
Okay.
So you'll see me gobbling up a lot more assets, but as you see it, I'd say 20% of them I'm direct to seller. The other 80%, I'm just like, I'll make your dream happen. Let me raise capital, let me utilize my brand, and I'll make this thing happen for you. But I want 40%. But if I have to manage it, I'm going to like 75%. And so there's a lot of those things. Again, it just ties back into brand, of why brand is so critically important. And, you know, if somebody knows they're getting on a phone call with me, it's like, oh, I'm getting on the phone with Pace Morby. Oh my gosh, and they behave differently. So if I had been working on my brand 5 years prior, I would get deals done faster, raise capital faster, more banks would want to work with me on the refinances. So again, brand. Is that helpful for anything?
Super helpful, because I think I already know that and I've been working on that myself. So I'm glad I'm on the right path. And I got to 10 rental doors, single family, and I was like, dude, this sucks.
This sucks.
It sucks. Because I originally was like, okay, I'm going to get to 10 in 5 years. And then I got to 10 in like 2.5. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. Now I'm going to go to 100. And then I was like, nope. Sure not.
No.
Sure not doing that.
Yeah. I think the first helps you with the paradigm shift. And I know your first was like a house you lived in. Yeah. So that was a big paradigm shift. But you needed to go to like 2, 3, or 4 to be like, oh, I can do this. And if you could go back, you'd probably tell yourself to stop at 4.
Yeah.
And you'd go back and go, all right, for the same amount of time and energy you spent on those 10, you could have done one RV park or one mobile home park that would make you more money. And it would be spitting out enough money in cash flow that you'd be like, I forget I own this. And this is one of my ugliest assets.
Yeah.
My team doesn't even remember we own it. Like, that's how so far off the radar this is. And because it makes enough money, Jimmy makes enough money to justify his involvement here. The thing pays for itself and does all the repairs every single month. I don't have a single family property that does that.
Yeah. Now this one is only 33 pads and it's obviously not full. And you said 50 or more. So if you could go back, you would still buy this again, just clarifying.
If it was 0% interest, yes.
That changes the game.
0% is the only thing that would change the game for me. Not 1%, not 0.5%, 0% interest, nothing, 0 interest. I would buy a smaller asset just for the 0% interest because I can set this and forget this. And in 10 years of owning this, it will be basically halfway paid off and it will have doubled in value. And so the appreciation and the pay down would make me $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? So this by itself, like, this is crazy. I'll make $1 million on this.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I've already made $500,000 roughly. I'll make another $500,000 and I've never taken a check. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yes, but I would the other thing too is like at the 50 unit mark, here's where your 10 house mark comes in to like be really helpful on the credibility side. So other members in the community are going to be like, I want to find parks for you. I want to find a thing for you. I want to blah, blah, blah. You're like, okay, well, you've already overcome your fear for the most part. So bring those deals to me. You'll have people bringing stuff to you because you've done deals before and you have proof of that. And so use those 10 houses to an advantage. Make them worth it. Make the headache worth the pain. And I would go after 50 units or more because 99% of people are afraid to go after 10 units, 12 units, 2 units, hell, 1 unit. So it's a larger moat. Less people are attacking the 50 units. Where it gets scary, here's where it gets scary. I think when you get to like 150 units or larger, it then gets scary again.
Okay, I can see that.
And 50 to 150 units, it's kind of all the same. 150 or more, you're like running a freaking machine. You've got 7 or 8 employees. 50 units to 150 units, you can usually run that with 1 to 2 people. And those 1 to 2 people live locally. You can even give free rent to somebody. Every unit, every park I have, somebody's getting free rent because we want them like eyes on the prize. When you get to 200, now you got to like have 4 people on staff and you got a whole different thing. And so that's another, I wouldn't go to 200 until I have like a operations or a chief of staff type of person. But if I were you, I would go after something that you say, if this doesn't put 10 grand in my pocket every month after every mistake, every overage, every vacancy, every single thing, then I don't want to touch it.
Okay.
And what I found is that starts at 50 units. So like this one is 8,000. We net $8,000 a month on this park. My payment's like 3 grand, something like that, small. But I bring in $8,000 a month, and if I wanted to, I could just take that 8 grand out. But I've been putting it back in to raise the rents and increase it and blah, blah, blah. 10 grand a month, like it justifies the pain and the headache. And then your property manager is making $1,000 a month, which justifies their time. Meanwhile, a property manager on your single family property is making $200 a month, and it actually hurts your cash flow. Here, I paid the guy $1,000. I'm like, are you making enough?
Please don't stop.
Please don't stop, right? Like, you want all 8,000? I'll let you just take all 8,000. So if summarizing it all the way up, you already know the brand stuff. I would just say, and I would keep the 10. The market's not a good time to sell those 10. Right now I'm selling stuff as tenants move out.
Okay.
And that's the tough thing about single family right now too, is that I have tenants that are moving out of properties that I have a lot of equity in. And if I waited 24 more months, maybe the market shifts, interest rates are down, but then I have to wait another 24 months with that tenant.
Yep.
And is the house going to be worth more in 24 months than it is today? I don't know. And so if there's enough equity in the deal that it justifies me selling it, that I could roll that money somewhere else. So I'm picking and choosing the houses right now that have enough equity that justifies the sale, holding on to the other ones that don't. And I'll take those and consolidate those into bigger things. So those 10 that you have, if you've bought them in the last couple of years, you probably don't have a ton of equity in them.
Correct, yeah.
And so I would hold on to those and wait until you do. And then as the equity gets to not make sense for you to keep it in there, I would sell it 1031 and consolidate everything into a larger asset.
That makes a ton of sense.
And then get rid. I think that in 5 years, I will have 25 rentals in single family. They'll all be co-living, and they'll only be in Phoenix.
Okay.
And then everything else will be, and then I think I also, all my 24 units, my fourplexes, all of those, I'll get rid of all of those as well.
Wow.
Anyway, so bigger is better. The problem is it requires delegation, and it also requires getting married to these projects, which sucks. Because like, I'm married to this.
Yeah.
Which means I got to come to Yuma and deal with Yuma stuff for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And commitment, people that don't like commitment, not that you don't like commitment, you do, you're married and you are committed to your job, you're committed to your path, all that kind of stuff, but you also are a traveler and an explorer. It's kind of hard to be like, do I really want these big things and these big teams? And I think maybe one of your other fears that you might be dealing with is like, am I ready to bring people onto my team if I hire one of these big assets?
Yeah.
I would challenge you on this. I would challenge you either A, tell people in the community to find you deals and then bring them to people like me and we go 50-50 on them. I'll manage them. I'll deal with the capital. My team can run all of them. And you could learn that way. That's A. Or B, I would find other people that are doing the same thing, somebody like Rhea Campbell, and go, if I brought something to you, could I partner with you? And then that way you don't have to deal with the people.
Yeah.
I think you're like me. You probably don't want to deal with people. You'd like to have teams, but as long as you don't have to manage them.
Yeah.
Yeah.